Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending our session. Today, I just like to introduce myself. My name is Ahmad Jassak from the South African Oracle User Group. This is our third session that we're having for the year. Our focus from the South African Oracle User Group have moved away from PowerPoint presentations and sales. We are now focusing more on learning the product, transferring of knowledge to our user group participants, and also growing the skills in South Africa. And our dream and desire is to go into Africa as well. As you know, cloud is a big focus at Oracle, and we need to align to our vendor, which is Oracle. So today we have invited Asif Hussein, who is one of the part of the Oracle ACE program, and he's going to discuss and actually show us how to create a Oracle Vision environment on the Oracle Cloud infrastructure. The cloud infrastructure is a platform where customers can host their application or use any of the Oracle applications. Why we chose a Vision Demo system, just to give you some feedback. Here in South Africa, I do a lot of training and development for Oracle and for numerous clients across South Africa, and I use the Oracle OCI to train our graduates, our interns, and also our clients as well, so that they can understand the technology and know how the technology works. So from the Oracle user group, we are going to add more sessions where we're going to teach on Oracle technologies. We're going to invite experts in the field to speak about it. And yeah, please look forward to our invites going forward. The recordings will be posted. The recordings will be posted tomorrow on the South African Oracle User Group website. And now I hand over to Asif Hussein, who is part of the Oracle ACE program and who is going to show us how to deploy a Oracle Vision environment on the cloud. Just to give you a brief context about the Vision environment, it is a playpen for customers where they can test features and functionality of the Oracle EBS suite. Okay, that's all from the South African Oracle User Group. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat box. We will ask Asif in the last 10 minutes to answer the questions. But for now, over to you, Asif. Thank you for your time, and you can proceed.
A very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone on this call, based on whichever part of the globe you're joining this session from. And thanks so much for coming along to this session. Firstly, thanks to Ahmad Jassak, the chairman of South African Oracle User Group, and to his team for having given me this opportunity to share my knowledge. As we all know, cloud is the new normal. That's where the world is heading. Whether we love it or loathe it, we have to live with it. Myself, Asif Hussain, I've close to about 15 years of experience working extensively on Oracle E-Business Suite and other databases too. I've also been designing, implementing, lifting and shifting enterprise applications and databases from on-premises to the cloud. I've also co-authored a book by the name, Is Your Data Secure? And also had the opportunity of presenting at various Oracle user conferences, including the All India Oracle User Group, Sangam, the Oracle Application Technology User Group Collaborate. I've recently started my own blog too. It is asifoncloud.wordpress.com. I work for Duensis, a company headquartered in Dallas with its offshore development centers in India. Duensis started in the year 2006, and time since its inception, we Duens have been serving our huge clientele across the globe. We as Duensis specialize in various projects. We specialize in various projects on Oracle products, and also we've been extensively working on the cloud area. So then, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get started. As the saying goes in the English language, the proof of the pudding lies in the eating. So let me not get into any slides, rather jump straight into the demo. I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm just going to log into the Oracle Cloud now. Okay. Key in, okay, this is the tenancy name. Okay, now I'm going to key in the login ID and the password. Okay, so this is the Oracle Cloud infrastructure environment. We'll we'll be doing we'll be following a step-by-step approach. First, we'll get started with the creation of a compartment. Then we'll create a VCN. Then we will do a subnet, likewise. So let me go ahead and create the compartment first. And as I create different components, I shall be explaining or just giving a brief about these components. I'm sure most of you all might already be aware of all these components, but just for the benefit of folks, just in case someone doesn't know about it or needs more information, I'll highlight a few things, as we progress. So the first thing, compartment creation. We'll have to go into the governance and administration right at the bottom over here, identity and compartments. So what is a compartment? A compartment is a logical segregation of resources. Like you have like prod and non-prod in a real-time production environment. Let's say we're doing a real-time setup. Let's say an e-business suite on the OCI. You would want to keep all your production instances in a prod compartment and your non-prod instances in a non-prod compartment. This is just to give you an example. It basically helps you to isolate and control access to the resources. You can also have everything in the root compartment, but it is a recommended approach to segregate it, based on the compartments. Okay, now let me create a compartment. We are already into the root compartment. Now I'm going to create a compartment. I'm going to name this compartment as EBS-COMP, EBS compartment. You can just give a description for it. I'm going to say compartment for Oracle EBS. And then this is the parent compartment, or in other words, the root compartment. I'm going to leave the root compartment as it is. So this compartment that I'm trying to create over here will get created in the root compartment. You can see the tagging over here. This is basically to segregate, or in other words to say, let's say if you want to do the pricing later or to analyze it, how much happened. Maybe for that purpose, you can always go and give a tag key. Let's say you can give the tag key as prod or non-prod, or you can give as tier. Then the value can be given as DB. If it is for the DB tier, for the application tier, you could give the tag key as tier and the value as apps. I mean, you could basically make it more simpler. Okay, now we're going to. We're not going to give any tags for now because this is a demonstration. Let me proceed. I'm going to create a compartment now. The compartment should get created now. Okay, you can see over here within the root compartment, you have the EBS comp created. Next, we'll be going to the virtual cloud network. So what exactly is a virtual cloud network? A VCN, okay, a VCN, it's called as a VCN in the OCI, but if you look at Azure, it's called as VNet, and in AWS, we say VPC, the virtual private cloud. So a VCN is a customizable private network in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Just to give you a comparison, just like the on-premise DC, right? Over there, you have the CIDR setup, you have the network setup, where you get the complete control of the environment. Likewise, just like the on-premise, to control the whole network of your cloud, you create something called as the virtual cloud network. So how do we create the VCN? Let's get to core infrastructure on the top over here, networking, and then I'm going to click on the VCN. So once I click on the VCN, I will have to create the VCN. Now when I create the VCN, let me give the compartment name that we just created, that is EBS-COM. And I'll have to give the name of the VCN. I'm going to say EBS VCN. And the compartment, as I said, would be EBS-COM that was just now created. And I'm going to give a CIDR. Okay. Now within this CIDR range, you will have all your resources, all your subnets, all your resources. Now this will be a broad level CIDR, broad level network number. I'm going to give it as 192.168.0.0/16. 192.168.0.0/16. Okay. Going down further over here, your DNS label will just remain the same. All that I'm going to do here is I'm just going to say create compartment. Again, the tagging over here, this is not required as already mentioned. I'm just going to say, I'm sorry, create VCN. Okay, it's 192.168.0.0/16, yes. And I'm going to create the VCN. So you can see over here your VCN. If I go into the root compartment, and then under that we have a child compartment that we just created, EBS-COM. Now within the EBS-COM, you have the EBS VCN. Now this is the VCN that we just created. Moving further, after the creation of VCN that we've just done now, let's move on to the subnet. So what is a subnet? Like each VCN, each virtual cloud network is subdivided into subnets. Now these subnets can be public, can be private. Okay. Now each subnet has a contiguous range of IPs described in the CIDR notation, right? I mean to make it more simpler, right? Like you can also have, like as I already mentioned, private and public subnets. Mostly in a real-time production environment, for your application tier, for e-business suite and your database tier, you would keep them in a private subnet. Right? Because you don't want to expose this to the external world. But here in our case, for the sake of demo, we're going to create a public subnet. I'm going to create a subnet. Okay, let me go into the VCN. Okay, here I'm going to say create subnet, and I'm going to give the name of the subnet, EBS pub sub. Right? Now that's the name of my subnet. And the compartment would remain as EBS-COM, and then I'm going to have two different options over here. Subnet type, either it can be regional recommended or availability domain specific. Now what does that mean? That means that availability domain. Okay, let me explain that. What exactly is an AD? Availability domain, like ADs are isolated from each other, or in simple terms, these are physical data centers which reside in a particular region. Okay, and these are fault tolerant and are very unlikely to fail at the same time. Okay, and the reason for that is these physical data centers do not share the common power or the common cooling or the common network. They are individual data centers which reside in a complete region. So these are called as ADs, availability domain. Now regional recommended one. Now we're trying to create the subnet. Okay, now this is a feature which was released later. Initially, when OCI came up, this regional recommendation was not there. The reason for this regional recommendation, the recommended regional subnet is that in case, let's say for example, you have about 3 ADs in a single region. In case if one AD fails, automatically you will have your subnet and your resources fail over to the second AD. That will happen only when you choose the regional one. Okay, now I'll have to give the CIDR block over here for the subnet. Now let me give the CIDR block. Now this is totally based on your VCN, whatever value you had given for the VCN. After the CIDR range over there, you would break down further into subnets, multiple subnets. The important point that we will have to note is that these CIDRs shouldn't overlap. Every subnet should have a separate CIDR, and these shouldn't overlap. Just to make it simple, in a single network, let's say if you have two different hosts, for two different hosts, I'm sure you won't have the same IP. You'll have different IPs, right? So likewise here also you shouldn't overlap, right? 192.168.1.0/24. Now this is going to be my CIDR block 192.168.1.0/24. Okay, just going down further down, I say default route table. Okay, I choose whatever the default route table is there for the VCN, the same route table, unless you want to create a different route table. In our case, we'll go with this default route table. Okay, private and public subnet, I've already answered this. So we'll be going with the public subnet as it is a demo. We will be connecting from the internet. Okay, going further down, DNS resolution. In this case, we're not going to use any DNS resolution. DHCP options, we'll go with the default DHCP, and we'll be going with the security list. Okay, so what are security lists? Security lists are nothing but just the control. They basically used for controlling, whatever resources and what it's like a virtual firewall basically. Okay, this is used to control the type of traffic that's allowed inside and outside of the subnet. So for example, whatever traffic that's coming in, that's the ingress, and the traffic that's going out is the egress. So whatever traffic we want to allow, only that traffic we would allow, and those ports and those source and target CIDR ranges we would specify within the security list. Okay, so let me go ahead and create the subnet now. Let's give it a few seconds. The subnet would get created. As you can see over here, it is getting provisioned. Yeah, we are good. Okay, so VCN, you can see in green color over here, it's available. That means the subnet has got created. Okay, now we've created the compartment, we've done with the VCN, we've done with the subnet. So the next step for us would be to go and create or launch the Oracle E-Business Suite. So let's get over here. Let's get to solutions and platform. Once you go into solutions and platform, you have marketplace. I'm going to click on all applications. So once I click on all applications, all the applications that are available on the OCI or the OCI marketplace, they would get listed over here. Now I'm going to choose for Oracle E-Business. So once I choose, I'm going to get the E-Business Suite images. Okay, let me take 12 to 9. Okay, I'm going to take 12 to 9, and then I'm going to choose the image. Okay, and the compartment that we just created, EBS comp. I'm going to accept the terms and conditions. Then I'll say launch the instance. So now the instance is going to get launched. Okay, we'll have to give the name for this instance. Let's give it as Oracle EBS R12-Viz. Right, that's the name of the instance, and the compartment you can see is EBS comp. Going to the next tab over here, placement. I'm just going to click on edit. You can see AD1, always free eligible. The reason why I'm going into always free eligible is I'm using the Oracle free cloud account. Okay, show advanced options. Then from here you could choose the capacity type that you want. In our case, we'll be going with on-demand capacity. We're not going to go with dedicated host. That's expensive, and also there isn't a need for that at the moment. Fault domain. So we will have to choose the fault domain. There is an option over here. You could always say that Oracle choose the fault domain, or if you want to choose, you can choose. You have both the options. I'm going to choose fault domain 1. So what exactly is a fault domain? Let's quickly, let me quickly throw some light on that. We spoke about ADs, right? ADs are physical data centers. Likewise, fault domains are logical data centers which reside within the ADs. So to say, fault domains are grouping of hardwares within the same AD. In simple terms, if I have to explain that, I can say that this is purely from the high availability standpoint. This is to avoid any single point of failure. Like within the same availability domain, there would be 3 fault domains. Okay, so So anytime the failure occurs in a particular hardware or so-called logical data center or so-called the particular hardware within that AD, automatically the traffic, the network and the application, the database would automatically fail over to the backup hardware. Backup hardware in this case would be the second fault domain, which is which is available, right? So it's like it's like moving the workload from one hardware to the next available hardware in the case of any failure. So that's with fault domains. So images and shapes. Okay, we've also already chosen the image, the shape over here. Let me go into the shape, and you can see over here. Okay, bare metal and virtual machine. We're going to go with the virtual machine, the free eligible one. Bare metal, of course, as you know, if you want to use it, only for your purpose, meaning to say, if you don't want anybody else sharing it, if you want to have access to the whole physical server, then in that case you'll go with the bare metal. In our case, we'll go with the virtual machine. You have the options over here for choosing the shapes. You've got AMD, Intel Skylake, and of course the previous generation. Okay. In our case, we'll go with Intel Skylake. I'm going to choose the first one over here, VM standard 2.1. If you, one option here is that, as you can see, the memory and the network bandwidth, okay, and the OCPU. This is all already defined. But just in case, if you want to, bring your memory up or down, or increase your OCPUs, that customizable option, you don't have it in the case of Intel Skylake. If you want to do that, you will have to choose AMD. But over here, obviously, it's not getting listed. The reason, as I already told you, I'm using the free cloud account. But if you use a paid account, in that case, you will be able to see, and you'll be able to see how you could customize that. Okay, so I would choose the first option, the basic one, and I would say select shape, right? Okay, going further down, just to confirm, EBS pops up is our subnet, virtual cloud is EBS VCN, yes, that's the VCN, and the keys. Okay, I'm not going to generate any keys now, as I assume most of you all, or probably everybody should be knowing how to generate the keys. So in that case, I would just say choose public keys. I've already generated the keys. I would browse to my location where I've kept the keys. You can see private and public. Okay, you'll have to upload only the public key to the cloud. Private keys, you won't share it with anybody, and you will keep it for yourself on your machine, right? The public cloud, the public key. Let me choose that. Okay, the public key. Okay, next going on to the boot volume. Excuse me. Okay, the boot volume is a device that contains the image to boot your compute instance. So that's your boot volume. If you want to customize it, meaning to say, if you want to add more size, yes, you can always give it over here. But the basic size is 50. Now, for the sake of demo, we'll go with the basic boot volume. We are not going to change anything on the boot volume size. So we'll leave the boot volume as it is. Show advanced options over here. In case if you want to give any cloud init script, meaning to say when the computer instance boots, if you want any script or any process to run, yes, you could mention it over here in the script. For now, we are leaving this as it is. And since we've already added the keys, now we're just going to go ahead and create the instance. Okay, you can see it in the orange color over here. It's provisioning. It could take probably less than a minute for the instance to get provisioned. Once the color changes to green, once it's available, then we'll try to connect with the putty. Okay, let me go here to the instance details. You have, as you can see over here, you have the IP address also. You've got the private IP address with the primary VNIC, the virtual network interface card, and also the public IP address over here. Okay, I am going to copy the public IP address. Okay, I've copied the public IP address, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to connect from the putty, from the back end. Let me try to do that. And you will see that I shall show you that I'll not be able to connect. I'll tell you the reason for it. Okay. Okay. Here I'm just going to say, mention the IP address, the public IP address, and in the connections, let me make this 10. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go to SSH over here, authentication. I'm going to give the path to the private key. So this is the same location from where we had uploaded the public key. Now I'm going to use the private key from here, and then let me get back to my main screen. Then I'm going to click on open. That means I'll try to connect, but it will not get connected. Anybody wants to take a guess why it won't get connected? Is there something else that we've got to do? Okay. Okay, the answer to that is very simple. We will have to create. Okay. So as expected, we got the error. So the answer is very simple. We have to create an internet gateway and assign that internet gateway to a route table. Basically, we'll have to do some small mapping. We'll see how to go about it. So first of all, what is an internet gateway? An internet gateway is actually an optional virtual router that can add to your VCN to enable direct connectivity to the instance. Meaning to say, your external world or your on-premise IPsec VPN, if you want to have the connectivity established. Internet gateway is mainly used for public subnets. If you want to give access over the public internet, in that case you would use an internet gateway. To add more to it. Any resource that's whatever you have, be it your compute node or your database, whatever, if that has to have internet access, then that particular resource should reside in the public subnet and it should have a public IP address. It can't have a private IP address. Meaning, the reason for that is if you want to have a private IP address for that particular resource, then in that case you would use a NAT gateway. Right. So in our case, we're going to connect it from the public internet. So we would be using a internet gateway. Right. So let me go ahead and create the internet gateway. How do we do that? So we will have to get back to the VCN that we created, networking, virtual cloud networks. So we are in the right compartment. EBS VCN is the VCN that we created. And here on the left-hand side, on the listed over here on the resources, internet gateway, we will say create internet gateway. And once we say create internet gateway, we'll have to give the name EBS IG. Any name that you can specify, of course. Okay, I'm going to give it as EBS IGW, and this also would reside in the same compartment that we created at the start, EBS com. Okay, tagging I've already discussed about it. Okay, so let me proceed further. EBS com, and I shall say create internet gateway. So you can see EBS IGW is available now. So now we've created the internet gateway. So now the next thing for us would be to add this, add the route table. Basically we'll have to do some small mapping. How do we do that? So go to the route table over here, default route table for EBS VCN. That's the VCN that we created. Here you say add route rules and then choose the internet gateway that you just created. Choose the option, right? Choose the option there. Sorry. And over here, specify the name of the internet gateway. That was EBS IGW. Excuse me. Destination CIDR block. Okay, in our case it would be 0.0.0.0/0, right? /0, and we would say EBS IGW. That's the name of internet gateway. Internet gateway is the type. Yeah, we're going to add the route rules. Okay, now the route rule should get added. Now with the route rule having having the route rule added. Now let me try to restart this session. There you go. Okay, initially we had some network issues. It wasn't connecting. Okay, it threw an error. Now when we say, after having created the internet gateway and mapped it to the VCN with the route tables and the route rules, now it says it can connect. So what do we do for connectivity? Okay, we go with the standard OPC user. In OCI, we have OPC. Like in the case of AWS, we have the etc-user. In the case that we go with OPC, the standard user ID to connect. So that should take us in. Okay, great. So we've logged into the using the putty, we've logged into the instance. Now over here, let me run the command host name. Okay, if I run the command hostname, it shows the name of the compute instance that we've created. Okay, let me switch. Let me switch to the user ID. Oh, sorry. Let me switch to the root user. Okay, once I switch to the root user, I'm going to run a command to update the etc host file. Or let me do a cat etc host first and then show it to you before I run that. Okay, this is the cat etc host file. You have only 2 entries there. Now with the logged in as the root user ID, I'm going to go to cd user01, install, and then I say scripts. Oh, here now I'm going to run a file update host.sh. Sorry. Yeah, let me run this file. This is to update your host entries. Okay, so that's already done. Now if I do a cat etc host, you will see that an entry has got added over here, apps.example.com, but that's the host name, a standard host name which is being used for the vision demo. Okay, fine. Now let me run the command hostname. If I run the command hostname, it still shows the name of the instance. So in that case, we will have to change it to this hostname, apps.example.com. So for that reason, let me change that. I shall say hostname, and I shall copy and paste this apps.example.com, enter, and then now let me do a hostname which should show the sorry, it should show the modified name, apps.example.com. Okay, now we having set the etc host file. Now let's start the database and the application. So yeah, as you already know, in a real-time environment, in your production environments, you would probably have a different user for your DB tier and your apps tier, maybe an Aura user for DB tier and an Apple MG or an Apple user for an application tier. But here in the case of Vision Demo with this image, they've used only the Oracle user, both for the DB as well as apps. So what we would do is, let me switch to the Oracle user in this case, and let me go to U01, okay, install apps and then scripts, right? I'm there. Now I'm going to run these files, start db.sh. Okay, start db.sh. Yeah, that's the file. Once, let's see what happens when I'm going to run this file. I've already logged in with the Oracle user. I'm going to say start db.sh. As you can see, the listener has got started, and after the starting of the listener, it's trying to start the database. The database is going to come up now. Okay, so you can see over here the database has got mounted and it is open. So database is in the open state, and also you have the listener up and running, right? So next thing would be, in the same location, we're going to start the application. I've already said that they're using the same Oracle user, so we'll be going with the same thing. And the app script would be start apps.sh. One note. Okay, start apps.sh. Okay, let me run the start apps.sh. Okay, and hit enter. That would help us in starting the application tier. The database is already started. Okay, and this is going to take a while. As you already know, be it an on-premise or on the cloud, the starting of the application takes a while, and moreover, the starting of the first time, so it definitely takes some time. So meanwhile, what we can do is we can try to do a couple of things. Let me show you that. Going back to the compute instances. Okay. So as I said, it will take a while for this to come up. So let's wait for it. Meanwhile, let's go and take the public IP address over here and add it to the etc host file. Now, okay, once the application has come up, if you want to access the URL, you'll not be able to access the URL because with the hostname we'll be trying. And obviously, this is a demo, so we don't have it in the DNS. In a real-time environment, you will be having a DNS set up in your organization, and your DNS administrator would definitely help you in adding the IP address to the host name. But here in our case, we're going to just add it to the etc host file. So how do we do that? Let's see that. I'm sure all of you already know this, the simple step. So that's going to be, okay, or let me start my notepad in the admin mode. Otherwise, it won't allow me to modify the host file. Okay, so I have my notepad in the admin mode. Now I'm going to, or let me get to the part. Okay, C: Windows System 32 drivers. Okay, etc, and then I have the host over here. Okay, I'm going to go to this place. Okay, yeah, notepad. I'm going to say open this. Sorry, host file. Yes, I have it opened over here. And for this, I'll have to take this IP address that we've just created in our EBS compartment, this compute node. This is the public IP, 152.167.191.45. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add this IP address. You can see over here, excuse me, I'm highlighting over here apps.example.com. That's the host name, and that we changed, okay, with the command that we ran. And also, this will be the URL. We'll be using this host name to access the instance as well. Okay, so this is the IP address with which we'll be accessing the application. Okay, the host. So let me close this. That has been set up. So I think it's still taking a while for it to come. The concurrent manager just got started, seems like. Okay. So meanwhile, let us do one more thing. Okay. We already spoke about security list, right? We already discussed about that. So what you will have to do is, now let's say the application URL is going to have the port number as 8000. Okay, now with the standard image, it comes as 8000. Okay, as in the on-premise, how you would ask your your administrator to make the changes on the firewall level and allow a specific port. Here, even here on the cloud, you will have to go to the logical firewall, okay, which is the security list, and then you will have to allow port 8000 from the CIDR that you want, from the IP range that you want. In our case, it will be 0.0.0. We'll allow the port 8000 so that we can establish the connectivity. How do we do that? Let's see. Okay, for this, since security list is all to do with the network, we will have to go into the network again. Networking, core infrastructure, networking, virtual cloud networks. Okay, I'm going into EBS VCN. I'm going into EBS pub sub, and then I say default security list, right? You can see over here, ingress. You have egress and ingress. As I said, ingress is the incoming traffic to the VCN from the external world. Egress is the outgoing traffic from the VCN or from the OCI to the external world. Okay. In this case, it's the external world. Maybe on your real-time environment, if you have an IPsec VPN or a fast connect setup, in a production real-time environment, then it will not be the external world. It will be only your network, right? The static network that whatever you set up for your organization, the private network, right? Okay, so we're going to say add ingress rule. We're going to say source CIDR. As I mentioned, the source CIDR here would be 0.0.0 because I'm on the public internet. I'm not on any private network. So since I'm on the public network, I would say 0.0. TCP is a protocol. Destination port range, I would say 8000. Okay, 8000 is the port on which you will try to connect. Description is optional. If you want, you can specify 8000 port. Source CIDR, we've given CIDR. TCP is the protocol. I would say add ingress rule. Okay. Now let's see whether the instance has come up. Okay, it's still taking a while for the instance to come. So meanwhile, as the instance, as it takes, some more time, let's quickly recap. What is that we've done? We got started with the compartment. We created the compartment. After the compartment, we created the virtual cloud network, right? After the virtual cloud network, we created the subnet, the specific public subnet. This public subnet was created within the particular virtual cloud network. And after creating the subnet, we went to the Oracle Cloud Marketplace. And from the Oracle Cloud Marketplace, we launched a compute instance. There we did specify which EBS 12.2 image that we wanted. We could see various images over there. We chose the one that we wanted, and then after that we specified which AD, the availability domain, in which you want to create the specific computer instance of yours, whatever you're creating. There you also have the option of choosing the fault domain. We chose the fault domain. Which fault domain? Although Oracle gives an option, Oracle says if you want to choose the fault domain, you can. Otherwise, Oracle itself would choose the fault domain for us if you don't choose the fault domain. Then we went to the shapes. We did specify which shape we wanted for our instance. We chose the least configuration. Okay, and after that we launched the instance. And after launching the instance, there were a few things that we did. We were not able to connect. For that reason, we created the internet gateway and also added the route rules to it, route tables, and then the route rules gave the access, connected, or rather mapped it to the virtual cloud network for that particular subnet that we did. And then after that, meanwhile, at this computer instance, we started the database and the application services. Okay, and after starting the application services, what we did is we took the public IP address, and then for the particular public IP address, we added it to the Atc host file as as DNS is in this particular case. And after that, we also added it to the security list, the 8,000 port on which we'll be accessing the application. We added to the security list. Okay, now it is all set. Okay, now I think the application services are also up and running. Before we go and access the application, there's one more step to be done. What we'll do is we'll have to change the sysadmin password. Let's try doing that. I shall try to source the environment first. Once I source the environment, I shall run the script. Okay, I'm sourcing the run file system. Okay, as you know, in 12.2 we have the run on the patch file system. I'm sourcing the run file system. Then after that, what I'll do is I'll run a script to change the sysadmin password, because with that sysadmin password, we'll try to log in from the front end. 201, okay, install apps, and then we go to scripts, and then we would say enable. Okay, enable sysadmin.sh. Now I'm going to run the script. Sysadmin.sh is going to ask me for the password. It says enter the new password for sysadmin. I'm going to key in the password welcome 12345. Okay, it says re-enter the password for sysadmin welcome 12345. Okay. Okay, now let's check. This script, it actually has the FNDC pass command, the normal FNDC pass, whatever we use in our e-business suite instances, and to change the password, even the script has the same FNDC pass. Okay, now let's go and see the log file. As you can see, okay, as I said, it uses the FNDC pass command, and as you can see over here, concurrent request completed successfully. So that means the request has completed successfully, and the password has got changed. Now, what is the next step? Now, having created this, now what we have to do, we will have to log in with the URL and try to access the instance. Let me try to log in. Okay, I'm just going to key in, I'm going to type in the yes, and then you go. Here you go. So this was the host name that we gave, apps.example.com, and for this particular host name, we created, we gave the IP address in our etc host file, and that was the IP address. Let me show you that. Let me go and confirm that once again for you. And if you can see over here, 152.167. One minute. I'll just show you the etc host file. Okay. Open with textpad. Okay. There you go. Okay, this is the etc host file, and in the etc host file, you can see the IP address that we've given. This is the IP address, apps.example.com, 152.167.191.45, and that's the IP address that we have over here for the instance that we just launched. Okay, Oracle EBS R12 Viz, right? And that's in the compartment over here. If you can see over here, the compartment EBS COMP. Okay, and now going to this instance, going over here, and let me type the sysadmin user ID and the sysadmin password. We just changed the password. We gave the password as welcome 1 2 3 4 login. Okay, it's logging in now. Fantastic. It's logged in now. Okay, as the first step, let me just say unlock, and then I would say ignore. Okay, for now we'll ignore it as this is a demo. Ignore the security configuration warnings, and then we shall say proceed. Okay, once you say proceed, again it will ask you to enter the password and the user ID sysadmin. I shall say welcome 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, here you go, and that should take us in. You're already there. Okay, and then let me go to system administrator and try to access this instance. Okay, I shall go to concurrent manager administer. Okay, let me say okay. You can see over here the form is getting launched. I shall accept the risk for now and say, and you can see the locations over here. It says the host name that we're trying to access, the URL http apps.example.com, and 8000 was the port on which we allowed access in the security list. So we're just going to say run, and then we will have the form getting launched. Okay, you can see over here EBSDB is the name of the database, and okay, the Oracle applications e-business suite instance that we launched was 12/2/9. The system date here is 8th April. All right, we just launched it. Fine. So this is your application. Okay, I don't think I have to explain anything over here. Okay, let me quickly go ahead and run one concurrent request. I'll just run one basic request, active users. Submit the request, submit another request, no. Okay, all my requests. Okay, it's pending, normal, it should get started anytime now. Okay, it's running normal now, as you can see. It will take a few seconds for it to complete. Let's wait for that, and then we will view the output on the view log. Yes, that completes. We'll view the output over here. You can see the output. The output also has come for this. We'll view the log. Yes, log. Also, we can see over here. Okay. Before we jump into the questions, okay, let me try to show you one more thing. Okay, let me try and ping this instance and see whether it pings or not, and see we'll see how to fix that. Okay, this is the IP address over here. Okay, this is the one. Excuse me. This is the IP address. I'm going to ping this IP address and see. Okay, it doesn't ping. Any guesses? Anybody wants to take a guess why it's not pinging, or how can we fix that? Anybody wants to take a guess? Okay. Okay, I think I already spoke about security list, right? To access the application, I told you that we have to allow the port, the 8000 port, or in the security list. Okay, in the ingress, we get a source CIDR as 0.0.0/0, and we said the target port would be 8000, right? So likewise, even for this, we will have to specify or use a particular protocol. There's a particular protocol called ICMP protocol. Inside the ICMP, with the help of the ICMP protocol, we'll have to allow the access. Okay, let me go over here. Networking, virtual cloud networks, EBS VCN, EBS pops up. Okay, or default route table. Let me take this default route table. Add route rules, right? Sorry, not this. Sorry, I have to go into the security list. Sorry about that. Okay, this is the default security list. Yeah, so this is what we added it. I mean, we had added 8000 is what we had added, and that's why your application works. 22 port is already added. That's why you're able to connect from the backend from the putty. Now I'm going to make this ping work. So 0.0.0.0//0. Okay. Destination. Okay. Here I'm going to say ICMP protocol. ICMP protocol. I'm going to leave the rest as it is. So 0.0. That's a source header, and I shall say ICMP protocol. Add ingress tool. Let's get back to our command prompt. And let's try pinging again. The packets were dropping last time. Let's try this time. And you can see over here, the packets are now pinging. I mean, we are able to ping the compute node, right? The packet sent 4, received 4, lost 0. That means, so the answer to the question was ICMP protocol is what you will have to enable access in your security list. And once you do that, you will, you'll have the option of even doing a ping. Otherwise, ping doesn't work. Okay, now it's over to the audience. The floor is yours. Any questions? I've been doing the talking for most of the time now.
Thank you very much, Asif. It was excellent. And yeah, this is, I have tried this, and we do have it working for us as well. So I would strongly recommend everyone trying out the Oracle Free Cloud to try this demonstration out. I just want to know, is there any questions before I submit a question? Okay, Asif, while we're waiting for any questions, if people want to connect through to the database using SQL Developer, is there any other additional settings that they need to do?
No, I don't think so. I know just with the keys, they should be able to connect. Yeah, that should work fine.
Okay, all right. Any more questions from the floor? Any more suggestions or questions? Okay, everyone says they love the session. They're giving feedback. So thank you, Asif. I got some feedback to say that great session. I love the session. Any other questions? Come on, guys, questions. Otherwise, we as the South African user group are going to give you homework to say to please go try it out. Go and register on the free cloud. The only thing they ask you is for your credit card details. Which I think they charge you like $1 or something. That's about it, and you have 30 days to use the environment and to try the environment. Asif, just one question: backups. Is it a long thing to speak about, or let's just say a customer goes in and puts his environment on the cloud and backups. Can you tell us about the backups? I know we got 4 minutes left, but if you can just elaborate on backups.
Sure, I'll do that. Yeah, recently, I had done an implementation of Oracle E-Business Suite on the cloud, and also done a few lift and shifts as well to the OCI. So as part of that, for the production environments, we had to do the backup setup. For the backups, like the approach that I had taken was this. My application tier, of course, was in the IaaS, and the database also was on the IaaS. Okay, like the normal on-premise setup, how you would do the backup for your application tier, you would have a script, in your Quran just to compress those, and compress those application tier and create a zip file. Just like that same thing, you would do it and put it into a directory on your Linux. Okay, now this is the first thing. This is with regards to the application tier. Now with a database, yes, there are two different options. Yes, one, you would have it like in the case of the tapes on premise, how you would have the RMN set up in a way how you could write directly from the Oracle database to the tapes. That's one way of doing that. Here in the cloud, you could write it directly to the object storage from your Oracle database. Or the other option would be how you normally on the on-premise, you back it up with the help of the RMN commands and put it inside a directory, and later that goes to the tapes. So in the case of OCI, what I had done was, as I said, for the application tier, compress it with the help of the script. I put that into a directory, okay, on the application tier, and for the database tier, use the RMN command, normal backup commands, the normal script that we use on the on-premise, the same similar kind of a script, back it up to a directory on the Oracle Cloud Compute instance itself, and then one backup you would have it, and on a, let's say, on a weekly basis, or that would depend on the strategy of the organization and the business requirements. You can use the OCI CLI, the OCI command line interface, the OCI CLI commands. You could even these commands could be set up on the cron, and with the help of the OCI CLI commands, just push the directory as it is. Now, for example, if you have A/B/C/D, in that structure, if you have the directories, just use the OCI CLI command. With the help, even that you can have it scheduled in the cron. With the help of that, that would push your backups to the OCI object storage bucket. Okay. And there you can, this is the first level. There, as you know, you have the SANET buckets and the archive storage as well. Okay, and yeah, on a periodical basis, you could also have it scheduled over there, so that based on your strategy, it could get archived, okay, beyond a particular time. I hope that answers your question, Ahmed.
Yeah, no, excellent, man. I know we got 1 minute left, but this is a big topic and something that all apps DBAs, I see there's lots of apps DBAs on this call, and I think it's very important, even if we go 5 minutes over. Cloning. Now, we created our product, our development environment, everything is working. Cloning. Is there specific tasks for cloning on the cloud, or do we just have to now, create another environment in the cloud and copy the data across? Can you give us your experience on cloning in the cloud, please, man?
Very simple. What I would do is this. Now, for example, if you're talking about PaaS, then for that there's a slightly different method. Yes, you can just with the click of a button, yes, you could always clone it, to a different database. That's all GUI based. Now, if you're doing it, let's say on the IaaS, your compute and your application tier. Okay, now let's say if you have your prod environment, okay, on two different nodes, just for the sake of an example. Okay, your application tier on one node and your database tier on the on the next node, let's say. Now you want to clone this to your lower environments. In that case, how would you do it? So the ideal thing would be what you would want to do is normally what happens is, in the case of a database, in the case of the application tier, yes, you have the boot volumes and the block volumes, right? Now these boot volumes are the images which come. These come along with the compute node itself. This is your main operating system, correct? Your block volumes is where your data resides. So what you can do is, you can back up your block volume on the production, back up your block volume, and that backed up block volume, from that block volume, you can create a clone of that block volume. And for that cloned block volume, cloned block volume, you will have to attach it to your compute node, lower environment, test or dev, whatever. I hope I'm clear there. Just
yes,
attach that block volume. It's all about the block volume. Your boot volume, you're not going to do anything. Your boot volume for production is different. Your boot volume for test or your dev is different. That is with the specific instance. Just your block volume of your product, that's where your data resides, with the application or the database. Just take that and then clone that block volume, attach that attach the cloned clone block volume, not the main block volume. That is with the production. Let's not do that. I mean, let's be very clear with that. The clone block volume, attach that to your compute instance. For example, your dev or your test compute instance, and then, I mean, you have the data as it is, and then your normal process, you run the ADCFG clone, you know, the same way how you do it on premise. Ahmed, does that answer your question?
Very much. Guys, we come to the end of the session, but there's just something I need to share with the South African Oracle community, that in South Africa, we have localized the payroll system. So on EBS, our payroll environment is localized, right? Oracle does not have the payroll on the public cloud. So for all South African customers, for all South African clients, if you are thinking to go to the cloud, the only route is to use the OCI, so the Oracle OCI. So very important is that you need to understand and go back to your companies and to your project managers or whoever you report to your CIOs, and to make them aware that the payroll environment is a strictly localized system to the South African users only, and therefore your payroll environment is not available on the public cloud. So it means if you buy Oracle public cloud, you know, you get financials, you get HCM, you get all the products there. But for your payroll environment, you will have to shift and lift it to the OCI. And there as well, you will have to do your own maintenance. That means your database upgrades, your application patches, and applying your South African localized patches, which gets released every 4 months as well. So that's all from me. I know we ran out of time. Asif, in the chat, everyone is thanking you for the great presentation. Everyone enjoyed it. I did record the session. Tomorrow, I will upload it onto the South African Oracle user group. Thank you all. Please do send your comments to chair@saoug.co.za, or where the invite has come through from my email address. Thank you all, and we will see you next month for another exciting training session. Thank you, Asif, for your excellent presentation, for your time. Oh, I see there's one hand up there from a user, Sean Miles. Sean, do you want to have any questions or anything?
No, just it was an excellent demo, very direct. I actually enjoy your question regarding the shift and lift for the ZA people on HRMS.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sean. Thank you, guys. So, Asif, thank you very much. That's all from us at South Africa. Once our borders open and, you know, COVID leaves us, we would like to invite you over to South Africa to speak at our yearly conferences.
Thank you very much, Ahmed.
Okay, that's
all.
all.
I can see one question. Sorry about that. Okay. I can see one question from Sonny Boy. I can see, what's that? What was the English saying you shared earlier? What's the question? Okay, you mean, are you asking about the proverb that I used at the start of the session? Oh yes, I did speak about that. Yeah, I said the proof of the pudding lies in the eating. Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, that means actually I want to get you know, into the demo directly instead of having or discussing anything on the slides. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah. Anyways, thanks so much. Thanks thanks to the audience. It was a wonderful. You guys were a wonderful audience, and also thanks to Ahmed and to the team of SAOUG for having given me this opportunity. Thank you once again.
Okay, thank you all. I know we ran out of time. Asif, thanks again. You have our invitation to visit us in South Africa when we have our next conference, and when COVID leaves us, we'll be glad to host you here in our beautiful country. And to the rest of it, see you next month. Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.